Hello, in our next tutorial we will show you how to edit the front page of your website. Upon logging in and being greeted with your dashboard, we will use our mouse to locate the Pages section, and hovering over it we will select All Pages. We will then allow the page to load and it will show us all the available pages on the website. Next, we can either use the search feature to search for the front page, or we can go through our list to find it. As you can see here, we currently have a page titled Funkeynastix with the title Front Page. Hovering over it, we have extra options. We are able to edit, quick edit, bin, view, or edit with Elementor. Please note that we will select Edit with Elementor, as that is the page builder that we are currently using. We will then allow the site to load. Once the page is loaded, we can use our mouse cursor to navigate around the site. As you can see while navigating around, sections will be highlighted with borders. First, we will start with the main section. As you can see here, it is highlighted with a thin blue border. By selecting the Edit Section icon, which is the 6 dots at the top, a new window will appear on our left. In here, we can change the layout of the section. We can stretch the section, change the content width, the column gap, the height, vertical alignment, overflow, and so forth. With the parallax and particles, you need not worry about this, as this is add-ons, my apology. Coming down to the structure, you can see we currently have the section set at 100%, meaning that there is only one column in the section. Next, we will move on to the Styling tab. Here, we will start with the background. First, we can choose a background type, either being a classic, gradient, video, or slideshow. Then we can change the color of the background by simply selecting the icon here. And for the time being, I will copy this. And we can simply change the color to whichever one we desire, as seen below. We will now set that back to default, and we will continue. Next, we come to our image section. Here we can choose to upload an image, and by selecting it, a new window will appear. Here, by default, we will be taken to our media library, where we can choose an image that has already been uploaded to the website, or we can choose Upload Files, and we can upload a new image from your computer. For the time being, I will select Media Library, and I will select a nice image. I will select the image, and then I will say Insert Media, and you will see the image has appeared. Next, we can change the positioning. We will set this to center. The attachment we will set to scroll. The repeat options we will set to no repeat, so that there's only one image. And then the size we can change to fit to cover. Now I will remove that image, and we can do that by simply selecting the Remove button. And as you can see, it has gone back to default. Moving on, we can add scrolling effects and mouse effects to this image and extras. Regarding this extra, we can also choose to have a hover effect. For example, we can choose to have a hover effect of a red color when we hover over the section, as well as we can choose an image. I will set that back to default, and we will change the image again. As you can see, I've set the image to change to this when we hover over, and as you can see, it does that. Again, I will remove this image, and we can change the duration of the transition. Moving on, we can add a background overlay. In this case, we have chosen an image as an overlay, as you can see by the little doodles. Again, we can change this by selecting the image and selecting which image we wish. I will close this window, and we will move on. As you can see, we have the position set to default with a fixed attachment, with a default repeat, and the size set to default. We can also change the strength of this background by simply moving the slider. Moving on to the border, here we can apply a border to this entire section. We can apply a normal border or a border that appears when we hover. For now, I will show you how to do the normal border. Here we will select the type. We will choose the width of the border, and as you can see, the changes are happening live. And we can even change the color of said border. We can also change the border radius, which as you can see will define the curves at the edges of the border. By increasing it up, the curve will increase. I will now set this back to default, and we will continue. Here we have come to the shape divider. As you can see, we currently have a shape divider set at the top, which is a waves brush, as you can see here. Here we can change the width of the shape divider, as well as the height, as you can see here. We're also able to flip the shape divider or bring it to the front. As you can see there, the divider is currently sitting behind the paw. If we bring it to the front, it currently sits in front of the paw. Moving on to the typography, here we can change colors, but we will do this in another section, so you don't need to worry about the typography. Lastly, in the advanced section, we have our margin and our padding. Our margin and our padding defines the area between the content and the edges. As you can see, our padding currently has the bottom set to 50. If I was to remove this, we can see that the gap between here is decreased. If I was to set that to 100, we will see the gap is increased. I'll set that back to 50, and we will continue. Moving forward, we can add motion effects to this entire section, as well as entrance animations. In our responsive, we can choose to hide the section either on desktop, tablet, or mobile. In our attributes, you do not need to worry about that, as that is for more in-depth development. Same can be said for our custom CSS and our extras. Now that we have finished the section, we will move on to a column. The column sits within a section. By using our mouse cursor, we will navigate until we find the column. As seen here, it is highlighted with a dotted black border. As you can see, I currently cannot access that button. Another way to do this is while hovering over that column, we can right click and we can simply select Edit Column. Again, that will bring up the window on the left hand side. Here we can change the column width, vertical alignment, horizontal alignment, widget spacing, and so forth. Moving on to the style section, we have come to our background, where we can choose to have a background or an image. I will change the color of this background to show you that we are working on a column, and therefore the color will only change within this column. As seen here, I've changed the column background to red, and you can see the color only applies to this column. I'll set that back to default, and we will continue. The same can be said for an image. If we apply an image as a background to this column, it will only apply to that column, as you can see there. Moving forward, we have our effects, our background overlay, which we can change. Again, we can add a border, which again only applies to the section, column, my apologies. And we can go on to the typography, which we will discuss in another section. In the Advanced tab, again we have our margin and our padding. As you can see, we currently have our padding set to 70 at the top. That is the space here. If I was to remove that 70, you can see that everything jumps up by quite a bit. I'll set that back, and we will continue. In our motion effects, we can add scrolling effects, mouse effects, and entrance animations. At the moment, we currently have it set to fade in from left with a normal animation duration. Again, in our responsiveness, we can choose to hide it on certain desktops. Our attributes, custom CSS, and extras you do not need to worry about, as this is for more in-depth development. Moving away from our column, we are now going to edit an actual widget. As you can see, again, we will use our mouse cursor to move around the site. We can tell that there is a widget by a thin blue border. Again, we will simply select the edit button, and in this case it is a heading. On the left hand side the window appears, and we can see our title. Here we can change our title, and you can see the changes will happen live. Next, we can add a link. For example, if we wish customers to select this text and take them to the contact page, we will simply insert the contact page URL here. Next, we can change our style, our styles, HTML tag, and the alignment of the text. Moving on to the styling section, we can change our text color. By selecting the box, a color picker will appear in a new window, and we are able to choose the color we wish. Next, we will come to our typography. As you can see here, we currently have the font set to Fredoka 1. We have the size set to 37, which we are able to change by sliding. We can also change the weight. As you can see here, I will select it to 900. Unfortunately, this font is contradicting the weight, so I'll set that back to default. We can also choose to transform the text, make it all uppercase, lowercase, capitalize, or normalize. We can also change the style of the text. We can change the decoration, as well as the line height and the letter spacing. We will simply close this window, and we will move on. The same thing applies to the text shadow. By selecting the edit icon, a new window appears, and we can change the blur, horizontal, and vertical settings of the text shadow. I will close that, and we will move on to the advanced section. Again, we have our margin and our padding, and as you can see, we have set our padding at the top to 4 and the bottom to -10. This will bring all the bottom up by 10. Moving on, our content protection advanced tooltips you do not need to worry about, as these are add-ons. Moving on to our motion effects, we can add a scrolling effect, a mouse effect, or an entrance animation. We can also choose to change the background by changing the color, as seen here, or we can add an image to this widget, as you can see here. Moving on, we have come to the border section. Here we can apply a border to this widget. As before, we will select our type, and we will see the border appear live. Moving on to the positioning, we can change the width and the position of this. Again, with our responsiveness, we can choose to hide this. And our attributes, custom CSS, and extras you do not need to worry about, as this is for more in-depth development. As you can see, it is fairly simple to navigate and to edit the page. You will simply use your mouse to find the section you are wishing to edit. You will select it, and the window will appear on the left-hand side. Once you are happy with all the changes made to the page, at the bottom left you will find the Update button. We will select this, and that is how you update and save the changes made to your front page.